In this video, we will determine the residential status of Mr. X, who is a foreign citizen. The moment we say foreign citizen, he is not fitting into exception to section 6 subsection 1. Now, if we see exception to section 6 subsection 1, it says Indian citizen leaves India during the previous year. This is the first exception. And the second exception says about person of Indian origin. So, nowhere foreign citizen is given. So who is fitting into exception? Only either Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin will fit into exception to section 6 subsection 1. So Mr. X is a foreign citizen, hence exception to section 6 subsection 1 is not applicable to him. Thus, if he wants to become resident of India, he can fulfill any of the two basic conditions. Now we should know the basic conditions. If you see the basic condition, there are two basic conditions: residing 182 days or more in India during previous year, or second basic condition, there are two parts. First part, residing 60 days or more in India during previous year. Second part, residing 365 days or more in India during 4 preceding previous year. So Mr. X can fulfill any of these two, but we cannot directly jump on second basic condition. First, we will check whether he is satisfying the first basic condition or not. In case if he is not satisfying the first basic condition, then we should go for the second basic condition. So in this case, Mr. X is a foreign citizen. He comes to India during the previous year 2016-17. So 16-17 is our previous year. In this previous year, he is coming to India. And as he is a foreign citizen, exception to section 6 subsection 1 is not applicable to him. And as exception to section 6 subsection 1 is not applicable to him, he can satisfy any of the given two basic conditions if he wants to become resident of India. So let us proceed ahead and stays here for 90 days. So that means in 2016-17, he was in India for 90 days. Now this 90 days is less than 182 days, but more than 60 days. So here only we can say that he is not satisfying the first basic condition, because the first basic condition says residing 182 days or more in India during previous year. But in this case, he is residing in India for only 90 days. That means he is not satisfying the first basic condition, but he is having an option of second basic condition. Now, why he is having an option of second basic condition? Because he is not fitting into exception to section 6 subsection 1. Exception to section 6 subsection 1 is not applicable to him. Hence, he is having the option of second basic condition. And the first part of second basic condition says residing 60 days or more in India during previous year. And Mr. X is staying for 90 days, which is more than 60 days. So he is fulfilling the first part of second basic condition. But along with the first part, he has to fulfill the second part also. Let's see. Let us proceed. Determine his residential status for the assessment year 17-18 after considering his stay in India in the past years. So his past years stay in India is already given in this case. 2002-3, he was in India for 88 days. 3-4, 310 days. 4-5, 12 days. 2005 6 6 days, 2006 7 68 days, 2007 8 8 181 days, 2008 9 365 days, 2009 10 18 days, 2010 11 355 days, 2011 12 307 days, 2012 13 180 days, 2013 14 72 days, 2014 15 14 days, and 2015 16 125 days. So now we wanted to know whether he is resident of India or non-resident of India. To become resident of India, he will have to fulfill the basic condition. There are two basic conditions, out of which he is not fulfilling the first basic condition of 182 days or more. But he is fulfilling the first part of second basic condition, that is of 60 days or more. But along with the first part, he has to fulfill the second part also. Now, second part says residing 365 days or more in India during four preceding previous year. Now, our preceding previous year starts from 2015-16 because our previous year is 2016-17. So, preceding previous year will start from 2015-16. So second part of second basic condition says residing 365 days or more in India during four preceding previous year. So let us check. 2015-16 is the first preceding previous year. 2014-15 is the second preceding previous year. 2013-14 is the third preceding previous year. And 2012-13 is the fourth preceding previous year. So now we will have to just take the total of this and find out in the four preceding previous year how many days he was in India. So if we calculate this, we are getting 391 days. Now 391 days is more than 365 days. That means along with the first part of second basic condition, he is fulfilling the second part of second basic condition also. And as he is fulfilling both the part of second basic condition, he will become resident of India. But we cannot stop till resident of India. The moment he becomes resident of India, we will have to find out whether he is resident and ordinary resident or resident but not ordinary resident. So for that, we should know the additional condition. There are two additional conditions. The first additional condition is residing 730 days or more in India during 7 preceding previous year. And second additional condition is must be a resident of India in at least 2 out of 10 preceding previous year. So if he fulfills both the additional condition, he will become resident of India. And if he is not able to fulfill both the additional condition, then he will become resident but not ordinary resident. So let us see whether Mr. X is fulfilling the additional condition or not. So the first additional condition says residing 730 days or more in India during 7 preceding previous year. So now we are looking for 7 preceding previous year. We already have 4 preceding previous year. We will add 3 more. So 2011-12, 2010-11 and 2009-10. Now we will have to take the total of 7 preceding previous year. So the total of 7 preceding previous year comes to 1071 days. 1071 days, which is more than 730 days. That means he is fulfilling the first additional condition. But along with this, he has to fulfill the second additional condition also. And the second additional condition says must be a resident of India in at least 2 out of 10 preceding previous year. Now, how to find out resident of India? Whether Mr. X is resident of India or non-resident of India? For that, you should remember the basic condition. So, we are looking for resident of India or non-resident of India for 10 preceding previous year. So right now we have 7 preceding previous year. We will include 3 more: 2008-9, 2007-8 and 2006-7. So till 2006-7, for each and every year, you will have to find out whether he is resident of India or non-resident of India. Now, by looking to this case, we can make out he is resident of India for more than 2 years, because the condition says residing 182 days or more in India during previous year. So if you check, if you see 2011-12, if you see 2011-12, he was in India for 307 days, which is more than 182 days. So in 2011-12, he becomes resident of India. Same way, if you see 2010-11, he was in India for 355 days, again, which is more than 182 days. So here also he becomes, in this year also he becomes resident of India, right? The condition is must be a resident of India in at least 2 out of 10 preceding previous year. So he is fulfilling the second additional condition also, along with the first additional condition of 730 days or more. And as he is satisfying both the additional condition, he becomes resident and ordinary resident. So our conclusion will be Mr. X is a resident and ordinary resident individual. Right? So we have discussed about this case or this problem. Now we should know how to solve this case or problem. For that, you should remember the steps. There are 9 steps which you are supposed to follow. They are: first, introduction; second, basic condition; third, conclusion; fourth, explanation of third step; fifth, new paragraph; sixth, additional condition; seven, calculation; eight, explanation of seventh step; ninth, conclusion. Right? So let us start solving this problem. Okay. So the first step is introduction. How you're going to introduce? Mr. X is a foreign citizen. Hence, exception to section 6 subsection 1 is not applicable to him. Therefore, to become resident of India, he can satisfy any one of the following given 2 basic conditions. Second step, basic condition. We will have to write both the basic conditions: residing 182 days or more in India during previous year, or residing 60 days or more in India during previous year, and residing 365 days or more in India during 4 preceding previous year. So these are the 2 basic conditions which we have as per Income Tax Act 1961. Third step, calculation. So now we have actually already calculated for the previous year 2016-17 while discussing the problem. So we'll have to just write here, we'll say number of days in India, 90 days. This information is already given in the question, which is less than 182 days. Now, as this is less than 182 days, we'll have to go for the second basic condition. So there are 2 parts. He is fulfilling the first part of 60 days or more, but along with this, he has to fulfill the second part of the second basic condition. That means residing 365 days or more in India during 4 preceding previous year. So the calculation is here. Total number of days in India in the 4 preceding previous year is 391. Next step, explanation. So now we will have to explain the calculation which we have done just now. So we will say Mr. X was in India for only 90 days, which is more than 60 days during the previous year 2016-17, and 391 days, which is more than 365 days during 4 preceding previous year. As he satisfied both the part of second basic condition, he became resident of India. So this is how you're supposed to explain your calculation. Now as he became resident of India, we will have to go for the next step, which is new paragraph. As he becomes resident of India, now further we will have to analyze whether he is resident and ordinarily resident, or resident but not ordinarily resident. To become resident and ordinarily resident, he has to satisfy the following given two additional conditions. Next step, additional condition. There are two additional conditions: residing 730 days or more in India during 7 preceding previous year, and B, must be a resident of India in at least 2 out of 10 preceding previous year. Next step, calculation. Now we will calculate and check whether he is satisfying the additional condition or not. The first additional condition says residing 730 days or more in India during 7 preceding previous year. So if you see, the total of 7 preceding previous year is 1071 days, which is more than 730 days. So he is fulfilling the first additional condition. But along with this, he has to fulfill the second additional condition also. Now the second additional condition says must be a resident of India in at least 2 out of 10 preceding previous year. So for each and every year, you will have to find out whether he is resident of India or non-resident of India. For example, if you see the first year, 2015-16, he was in India for 125 days, which is less than 182, but more than 60. But if you're going for second basic condition, which is more than 60, then along with 60 days or more, you'll have to fulfill 365 days or more in the 4 preceding previous year. So you will have to check the total of 4 preceding previous year. So now you can make out the total of 4 preceding previous year is more than 365. Hence, for this year, he becomes resident of India. Same way, we'll go for the next year, that is 2014-15. He is in India for only 14 days. Now 14 days is less than 182 days as well as less than 60 days. Hence, he is not fulfilling any of the basic condition and he will become non-resident of India for this particular year. Next, we will go for 2013-14. 2013-14, he was in India for 72 days. Now 72 days is less than 182 days but more than 60 days. But if you're going for 60 days, you will have to fulfill 365 days or more in 4 preceding previous year. So now here we will have to check the 4 preceding previous year, and we can see that 4 preceding previous year, the total of 4 preceding previous year is more than 365. Thus, he will become resident of India in 2013-14. Next year, 2012-13, he was in India for 180 days. Now 180 days is less than 182 days but more than 60 days. Again, in the 4 preceding previous year, you will have to check the total of 4 preceding previous year, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we can make out the total of 4 preceding previous year is more than 365 days. Thus, in 2012-13, he will become resident of India. Next, 2011-12, we can see it is 307 days, which is more than 182 days. Hence, in this year, he will become resident of India. Same for the next year, 2010-11, you can see it is 355 days. Again, 355 days is more than 182 days, so he will become resident of India. Next year, 2009-10, you can see it is 18 days. Now, 18 days is less than 182 days as well as 60 days. Thus, he is not fulfilling any of the basic condition and he will become non-resident of India in this particular year. Next year, 2008-9, you can see it is 365 days, which is more than 182 days. Hence, he will become resident of India for this particular year. Next year, 2007-8, it is 181 days, which is less than 182 days, but more than 60. So you can see this is more than 60. That means we require 4 preceding previous years information. But here we can see we have only 1 year's information, 1 preceding previous year information. That is of 2006-7, which is 68 days. So you may think 181 days is more than 60 days, but in the 4 preceding previous year, he was in India for only 68 days. Thus, in this year, he should become non-resident of India. But we can see it is a resident of India. Then how come he became resident of India? The information before this year is given in the question. So let me take you to the question. So you can see the question. So we have the information before 2006-7 given in the question. So you can take the total of 4 preceding previous year. It is definitely more than 365 days. Thus, we can say that in this year, he is resident of India. On which basis? He has fulfilled the second basic condition of 60 days or more in the previous year and 365 days or more in 4 preceding previous year. And 2006-7, you can see it is 68 days, which is more than 60 days. And if you see the question, the previous information, the information given in this question. So if you see the 4 preceding previous year, the total of 4 preceding previous year is more than 365 days. Thus, in 2006-7, he will become resident of India. Now we can see he is resident of India for 8 out of 10 preceding previous year. Because only in 2 preceding previous year, he is non-resident of India. That means for 8 preceding previous year, he is resident of India. Right? Now, same thing we are going to explain in the next step. So we will say Mr. X was in India for 1071 days, which is more than 730 days during 7 preceding previous year, and was resident of India for 8 out of 10 preceding previous year. Thus, he satisfied both the additional condition of 730 days or more and 2 out of 10. Conclusion, last step, Mr. X is resident and ordinary resident of India. I hope you have understood how to solve this type of problem. Thank you.